Hi everyone, my name is Nick. So today I'm going to talk about the action video games ethics. So as you all know, like video games have been like really important part of our lives because they help us to reduce stress and relax in our free time. Also, video games have changed a lot since the time it first came out. You can see a lot of difference from the Pac-Man games a long time ago, and nowadays realistic games. So as the game are more developed, the people have more concern about the video games due to the realistic gameplay and also the violence theme. However, my proposition today is that playing action video games can actually bring many benefits to our brain processing system. So then I'm going to show you that action video games can improve our visual skills, enhance our working memory, and also make us better in decision-making process. So for the first point, action video games can improve our visual skills. So which are the spatial resolution and hand and eye coordinator. So what I mean by spatial resolutions is the ability of the eye to discriminate between the two adjacent high contrast objects. So in the research by Dr. Green and Daphne Belvedere from the Department of Brain and Cognitive Science at Rochester University, they try to test the effect of the spatial resolution in the action video games by measuring the crowding region of the video game players and non-video game players. So what it means by crowding regions is the space around target where the presence of distracting objects leads to a decreased sensitivity for a target. For example, this effect appears when you read a book and you see the letters, it jumps around, and you see this line to another line. So this effect is the crowding. So after observing and researching, they see that video game players have the crowding region is smaller than non-video game players, which means they can maintain high performance at separation between the distractor and the target. So what they say in their research that video game players were found to localize a peripheral target in a field of distracting objects more accurately than non-action video game players, as well as to process the video stream of briefly presented objects more efficiently and to track more objects at once than non-video game players. So visual skills can help us better in driving, so we not get distracted from other things on the way. And also, it might help us to look for the person you're looking for in the crowd easier than non-video skills. Okay, so another aspect of the visual skill is the hand and eye coordinators. So as you know, like in video game, especially the first point shooter video games, you have to look around and see around in the video game, and you have to act fast, react fast, so you can survive from other players. So you need to have the connection between what you see and the brain interpretation, and then you can have the movement of the hand to press the right key at the right time. So according to Professor Lauren Sojour from Neuroscience of York University in Toronto, he said that if you look at professional piano players, professional musicians, you see this phenomena where they don't activate as much of their brain to do very complicated things with their hands that the rest of us need to do, and we found that gamers did this as well. So second, action video games enhance our working memory. So what I mean by working memory is the connection between the long-term memory and the short-term memories. So in video games, you have to remember all the moves or the ability of the characters, or even the map of the place, so you know where you're heading to. So modern action video game not only require players to press the right key, but require the player to develop the adaptive mindset to react fast enough to press the right key. So in the research by Dr. Lorenza Cordaro from the Cognitive Psychology Unit of Leiden University in Netherlands, they try to test the working memory of the non-video game players and video game players. So they compare the people who play action video game 5 hours weekly and the people who don't. From the working memory task, like the end back task and stop signal priority, they see that video game players outperform non-video game players. And video game players tend to act faster and more accurate in the monitoring and updating of working memories. They also suggest that video game experience change your brain to become more flexible in the updating and monitoring of new information, enhancing the memory capacity of the gamers. So my last point is that action video game can make us better in decision making. So action video game help the people to quickly make decisions and more accurate. According to the research by the professor cognitive scientist from Rochester University, they test those people who age from 18 to 25, and they split the groups to two. And the first group, they let them play 50 hours of fast action video games, and the other groups don't. And then after the experience period, they ask them to answer the quick decision question from situational question. So in the research find out that the action video game players were up to 25% faster at coming to a conclusion and answer just as many right questions as the non-video game players. They also say that action video game players' brains are more efficient to visual and auditory information, and therefore they have the ability to make a decision much faster than non-gamers. So overall, after showing you all the information about the improvement of the visual skills, the memory, the brain, and the decision-making process from playing action video games, I once again state that action video game can actually bring many benefits to our brain processing system. So hopefully I changed some of you guys' mind about action video games bad. Thank you.
I see what you're saying, but I just don't know the word. But I see what you're saying. He's going to tell you
Okay. There we go. Nick, I think that you did a good job identifying the topic and laying out the structure of the speech. I think you need to do a little bit more to define what the controversy is on this subject, because it sounds to me like it's almost defining the very thing that video games do. In other words, you get good at reacting quickly to things that happen quickly in video games. And the application of that outside of the video game would be a little bit more useful. Now, you did have one statistic at the end where there was the comparison about making conclusions and answering questions correctly, and I thought that was exactly the kind of stuff that you needed more of in the speech. Outlined, like I said, everything was clear and easy to follow. The evidence is extensive. You've got a lot of authorities that you're quoting. You cite several studies to back up your conclusion, which I think helps. You also give credibility to all of those sources by providing us with the names and their qualifications. So I think that works really well. Sometimes I think a little bit more explanation would be helpful on why these particular skills, like working memory, for instance, are important outside of the context of doing something technical like playing the video game. You make a reference to driving, and I like that. You needed more of those kinds of things. Why does this matter? Why is it important? The delivery of the speech, I think you do a good job talking to the audience. You know the subject. You're interested in it. I think you're motivated to speak to us. You're not a native speaker of English, but you were relatively clear. Sometimes you're going a little quick on the terms. I know you're trying to get through all of the information that you have. And so there were a few times when I'm paying close attention, so I could usually understand what you were saying. Sometimes your casual audience will not be as focused, and you might need to slow down a little bit for them. All right, so I didn't have any huge problems, but I think that maybe pacing yourself would be a way to maybe adjust a little bit. Because the truth of the matter is, I've said this many times in my other classes, I have non-native speakers of English who have a better grasp of grammar and vocabulary than the native speakers of English have. I know, but they're sometimes hard to understand because their articulation is just a little bit different. And most people will be able to understand if they get a chance to process it. And I think you just need to give, I think you're thinking we're all playing video games, and so we should be fast enough to process it that way. All right.